The Dreaming World, A Place Between Movements. Part 5, The Fracture. She moved, and the world formed as it had before. But it did not settle in the same way. Something resisted, not stopping the movement, not breaking it, but refusing to fully resolve. And she felt it immediately. The echoes were no longer faint. They were closer now, stronger, pressing against the path she had taken, no longer just beside her, but within reach. And she slowed, instinctively, not out of fear, but because the movement itself no longer felt singular. It carried weight, multiple directions pulling at once, and when she stepped again, the world responded, but not as one. It layered, overlapping outcomes settling together without fully separating, and the space around her shifted unevenly, edges no longer soft but unstable, forming and unforming at the same time, and she felt it. Not just one continuation, but several, each one trying to complete, each one close enough to be real. And she held the moment before movement again, but this time it did not open cleanly. It fractured, not widening into possibility, but splitting into tension. Too many paths present, too many outcomes refusing to collapse, and for a moment she remained there, suspended between them, feeling each direction, each version of what could happen. And the longer she held it, the less stable the space became. Distance folded inward, then stretched too far. Time lost its sequence, sensations arriving out of order. And she understood then, not as a thought, but as a sharp, immediate knowing that the system was not meant to hold this much at once. That movement was meant to resolve, to choose, to stabilize. And without that collapse, reality did not expand. It strained, and still she remained, just for a second longer, feeling the pull of every unchosen path, until the pressure became too much, and the space around her splintered, not breaking apart completely, but losing coherence, fragments of movement overlapping without agreement, echoes no longer distant but intersecting, crossing through the path she stood on. And for the first time, she felt disorientation, not fear, but a loss of alignment, as if the world no longer knew which version of itself to become. And in that moment she moved. Not carefully this time, not slowly, but decisively, allowing the action to complete fully. And the fracture collapsed, not gently, but suddenly, everything snapping back into one continuity, one path, one world forming sharply around her. And the echoes fell away again, distant, quiet, no longer pressing against her. And she stood there, breathing, steady, aware, and she understood now, more clearly than before, that not every path could be held, not every possibility could exist at once, that awareness had limits within the structure of movement, and that crossing those limits did not reveal more, it broke the balance. And from that moment on, she knew, to move was not only to create, or to choose, or to converge, but also to protect the shape of what could remain whole. The Dreaming World, A Place Between Movements. Part 6, The Architect Layer. She moved again, carefully this time, allowing the world to settle fully around her before taking another step. And for a while everything remained stable, one path forming cleanly into the next, the echoes distant again, quiet enough to barely be felt. And yet something had changed, not in the structure of movement, but in her awareness of it. Because now she could sense the edges of the system itself, not visible, not physical, but present beneath everything, like a pattern hidden underneath reality, guiding it, containing it. And as she slowed once more, holding herself within the space before movement, she felt it more clearly, not the echoes this time, not the fracture, but something deeper, something watching the paths form and collapse, something that existed before the movement completed. She remained still, and the moment widened around her, soft and silent. And within that silence she noticed something impossible. Certain paths felt easier to enter than others. Certain outcomes settled faster, as though the world itself preferred them, while others resisted, thinning before they could fully form. And she understood then, quietly, instinctively, that not every possibility was allowed the same weight. Not every path was equally sustained. Something was shaping the balance, guiding which realities remained stable and which dissolved before completion. She stepped carefully, testing it, and immediately the world responded. one direction settling smoothly into continuity, while another weakened the moment she considered it, fading before it could fully emerge. And she felt it then, not as control, not as force, but as selection happening beyond her awareness. The system was not empty. It was structured, and somewhere within that structure, something was maintaining the coherence of reality itself. She slowed again, deeper this time, allowing the delay to remain open just long enough to feel beneath the movement instead of within it. And for a brief moment, the world became transparent, not visually, but structurally, and she sensed layers beneath the paths she walked, patterns beneath the echoes, a framework holding every divergence together so it would not collapse entirely into chaos. And there, at the edge of perception, she felt it, not a person, not a presence in the ordinary sense, but an intelligence woven into the architecture of movement itself, something ancient, patient, silent, something that did not create the paths, but regulated them, allowing some to stabilize while others faded away. And the moment she became aware of it, the space reacted, not violently, not suddenly, but carefully, as though awareness itself had weight. The world tightened around her, continuity sharpening, echoes withdrawing into the distance, and she understood immediately that there were boundaries within the system, limits to how deeply one could perceive, before the structure responded in return. But even then she remained still, listening, feeling the hidden rhythm beneath movement, and for the first time, she realized something that reached far beyond the echoes, beyond the fracture, beyond even the convergence itself. The world was not simply forming around movement, it was protecting itself through it. Every collapse into one path, every resolution, every stabilized outcome was part of a larger balance, a way of preventing reality from dissolving beneath infinite possibility. And somewhere within that balance, something remained awake, maintaining the shape of what could continue to exist. She exhaled slowly, and the moment narrowed once more, the world settling back into one continuity, one direction, one stable reality forming around her again. But she carried the awareness with her now, quiet and undeniable. And from that moment on, movement no longer felt accidental, or personal, or even entirely her own. It felt guided, as though every step existed within a structure far older than herself. And somewhere beyond the visible world, something continued watching the paths unfold,